You're listening to Wise Women with Daisy Khan, where faith rolls up its sleeves as a force for good, and where women define the future with wisdom and wonder. I'm Daisy Khan. Kindly subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
I'm in New York City on this historic New Year's Day. I'm Daisy Khan, here to witness Zohran Mamdani becoming the 112th mayor of New York City. It's a truly historic day because he's the youngest mayor in over a century. He's the first Muslim mayor, South Asian, who was born in Africa. And last night, Mamdani swore his hand not on one, but two Qur'ans. One was a historic pocket-sized Qur'an from the late 18th and 19th century. It was a loan from the New York Public Library Chambers Center. And the other one was a Quran that was personal to him. Yesterday, when he took his oath, it was underground in the old City Hall subway station. It's a beautiful relic from 1904, known for its vaulted ceilings and glass skylights, which was closed 80 years ago to the day. His agenda is very simple. It's about affordability, freezing rent for 2 million rent-stabilized apartments, universal childcare for programs for children from 6 to 5 years old, make city buses free for of all passengers, and build 200,000 new units of affordable housing. The opening remarks were done by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman, and again, it's a new era because both of these, Zohran Mamdani and Cortez, want to build a progressive policy, cultural representation, and unify all of New York. And we will also witness Mayor Mamdani's oath being overseen by towering figure like United States Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders is significant because he's Jewish, and him administering the oath to the first Muslim mayor symbolizes their joint commitment to social justice values. Mayor Mamdani, again, is using his family Quran and that belonged to his grandmother. This, again, shows that his entire public service is grounded in faith. The whole theme here is unity. It's very visible. Mayor Mamdani is flanked by members of the clergy from multiple faiths, again, celebrating the rich cultural but also religious tapestry of New York City. So today I will be joined by two guests who were instrumental in helping Mamdani get elected.
My guest today for today's conversation is Dr. Debbie Almontaser. Debbie and I go back a long way. We've been working together for many, many years. So I'm really excited to have you here, Debbie. Welcome to Wise Women.
Thank you so much, Daisy. I'm so delighted to be here and just so proud of the work that you continue to do, Daisy, to uplift and amplify the Muslim experience in the United States and globally. So to be on your podcast is pretty exciting. And so thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, well, thank you. So we're going to get right to the conversation we want to have today, which is Zohran Mamdani. And I know you know him personally, meaning that you've been around him for some time. What was it about him that made you say, gosh, I really need to support this candidate?
So I have had the extraordinary opportunity to know Zohran from his early days when he ran actually for his assembly seat. But there was something incredibly amazing about him that really captured my heart, and that is his smile and his way of connecting with people, really being able to, listen intently and show warmth and gratitude to the very person in front of him. We ran into each other at Somos, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
and he was actually trying to get a meeting with me in Somos to talk to me about his mayoral run. And I was like, absolutely, let's try to find time. We couldn't make time. But eventually, after we got back to New York, we sat down and I was like, I'm just so proud of this young man, just having this confidence of like, I could do this and I'm going to do my best to do it. And I need your support.
Yeah. And then you were so instrumental in galvanizing the Muslim community, getting the voter registration done of all the aunties and the uncles in the bodegas. Must have been amazing to see that kind of turnout.
Yeah, it was. And I will tell you the turning point, Daisy, when I realized that this young man was going somewhere was actually in January. His presence on social media was electrifying. He was turning a lot of heads. And I was like, this is really incredible. He was also making literally every mayoral candidates forum that he was invited to. So, as a part of my work with Engage as their senior advisor for Metro New York, they held their mayoral candidates forum on February 23rd. And we were like, you have to make sure to come. And after watching him on that stage with some of his colleagues that were also running, who've actually been in government for a very long time, he really stood out. And I was like, this young man is going somewhere. Initially, what Engage Action wanted to do was to make their endorsement right before Ramadan. And then, because of courtesy for the speaker, they extended the deadline for her to, complete the questionnaire and give her the opportunity to respond to the questions that were very important to Muslim New Yorkers. So shortly thereafter, the screening committee made their decision, and by far, Zohran was number one on all the issues that the community cared about. But most importantly, he was able to really talk about a clear platform of affordability that spoke
Mm.
to everybody.
Yeah.
So he was ranked number one. And then Brad Lander was ranked number two. And then Adrian Adams was ranked number three. And then he just skyrocketed. But after we did the endorsement after Ramadan, we hit the ground running. We had as many people registered, registering people at mosques, at events, turning people out, for primary day. So it
Mm.
was a
Mhm.
pretty thrilling moment that I didn't even know what to do that day, Daisy, because I was like, is this going to really happen? Because you saw he just skyrocketed,
Yeah.
in the polls.
Both of us, we've shouldered those ugly moments. What was it like when you heard that? Because he's so much younger than us.
Yeah, I mean, it was deja vu. It was, because I experienced that during, the creation and the
Mhm.
announcement of the Khalil Gibran International Academy. You experienced it with the Islamic Cultural Center in Lower Manhattan. So I knew full well what that was like, to get mail,
Mhm.
anonymous mail with a death threat, to get calls on your phone with death threats. And I remember, shortly right after my forced resignation, I had to actually be escorted in a car for like 2 months to
Mm.
work,
Mm.
because of those continued threats. In addition to the death threats, is just the constant, media propaganda that's behind him, right? The paparazzi. And
Yeah.
I remember during, that whole situation with my forced resignation and, the New York Post, they literally camped outside of my house for 5 days.
Yeah.
And
With
every
with long lenses, right? Those ugly long lenses.
time,
They want to catch that really bad side of you.
yes. Obviously, once you become a public figure, there is no normalcy when
Yeah.
you are an elected official who not only has local recognition, but
Global.
national and global.
Yeah.
It's, the number of people the night that he won the general election that text me from all over the world congratulating us and telling us how excited they were about his win. And I was like, this is crazy. I've never had a race that I was involved in that I was getting international congratulations.
Yeah. So what was that moment of the win for you? I know we've met over the time when we were talking. Remember the ebbing and the flowing, like, oh my God, today he was attacked. We don't know what's gonna happen. But when that win happened, Debbie, what flashed through your mind?
So let me just take a couple steps back and then I'll tell you. So I'm sure that you saw those horrific attacks by both Eric Adams and
Yeah.
Cuomo,
Well, hmm.
that actually were just so outrageous, that Zohran and his team realized that they had to basically make a public statement about his Muslim identity.
Mm.
And not only, that it was about him, but it was also about the 1 million Muslims in New York. And I was so pained to see that. And I was just so outraged by the horrific ugliness of those comments. And, you know, I reached out and I said, you guys really need to do something. We cannot let this go. The response was, yep, we're on it. They then actually decided to have him give that statement at a mosque. I felt so broken inside as he got to me, and I just grabbed him and I hugged him like I would hug one of my own kids because I
Mm.
felt in that moment that I needed to give him that kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. The assurance.
And literally, Daisy, as he was giving his speech, I saw his index finger on the podium like
Mhm.
shaking,
Mhm.
and it's, being in the spotlight and being in the public eye just takes so much of us as individuals to
Mhm.
have the stamina to keep it together, to show strength, to show confidence. And in that moment, I was so proud of him how he was able to deliver that message. And
Mhm.
I was wearing actually my sunglasses. I tell you, my eyes were swelling with tears, and I was so
Oh, I was
happy.
wondering. I was like, Debbie looks really cool over there. She's got these shades on, you know.
If I would have taken off my sunglasses, you would have seen my eyes swelled with tears. Later that afternoon, Daisy, I get this email from somebody I have no idea, a former reporter who followed my story, and who basically said, I saw you standing next to Zahran, and it reminded me of what happened to you in 2007, which was a
Mhm.
grave injustice, similar
Mhm.
to what is happening to him right now.
Mhm.
And I hope in this very moment and in the moment when Zahran wins, which I believe he's going to win, that it will be a true vindication for you for what you have experienced.
Wow. Yeah,
And
that was and thank you for sharing this because these are the kinds of things that people don't know up behind the scenes of what's going on. And I really think that him not only speaking about Islamophobia publicly, but also talking about his own Islamic identity, Muslim identity in a way that was so assuring
Mhm.
to the younger generation. And I
Yeah,
think it was a seminal speech and it'll go down in history as such. So
yeah,
now I
absolutely.
want to take you to another surprising moment. Donald Trump's refusal to attack Sauron and treating him with the kind of respect he denies to so many others. All right, were you as shocked and stunned as bewildered as I was? And what did you think it signaled?
So to be honest with you, I wasn't sure what the hell to expect. But there was one thing that I was able to predict,
Hmm.
and that was Zohran's genuine and sincere way of connecting with people.
Yeah.
And I have seen this, Daisy, on so many occasions, during the course of the election. There were key people that I was introducing him to that were afraid of him, that saw him as the enemy, especially in the business sector and what have you. And the very moment that they sat with him and spoke, their whole entire impression of him just changed.
Trump himself said the same thing. He said I met him. I had never heard this side of him. And that's what it's all about, right? Getting to know you at
Exactly,
the level.
exactly. That you can see his genuineness radiate. I don't think I've known or met anybody in my life, Daisy, who is as good a listener as he is. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I actually arranged for him to meet with the National Supermarket Association. And now
Mm.
these are like the sharks, the business sharks in New York City. And they're like,
Yeah.
he's gonna, destroy our supermarkets. We can't have this. He went to that meeting and they spent 45 minutes telling him about themselves, about their businesses and everything. And they gave him actually a printout of the deck and they were going through the deck. And I was like, should I get up and give him a pen? Because I feel like he needs to write this stuff. It was his turn to respond. Literally, he responded to every important point that they had addressed in their 45-minute presentation on that podium without writing anything down. As a public educator, so much pride to know that he came, through the system and continues to fight for children, for adults, for families, is really incredible.
Yeah, I think he's a quintessential New Yorker, you know. I mean, everything about him is like it's like, you know, he's got the New York vibe in every sense of the word, you know. I have another guest who's speaking on this topic, but I think it's really important for a Muslim to also address this. You and I both know that he had strong support from many in the Jewish community, right? There are so many American Jews outside of New York and within New York that are still worried and uncertain about him.
Mhm.
And knowing what you know about him, do you want to say something to them directly to reassure them?
I would say to all of them, and if they're listening, is give Zohran a chance, have a sit down one-on-one with him, express your concerns, let him share with you what his perspectives are, and know that when he took on this race to run for mayor, he wasn't doing it for the Muslim community, for the South Asian community, which these are the two communities he belongs to. He was doing it for the people of New York, which also included Jewish Americans. And
Mm,
I think one of the biggest things that people do not understand is the large Jewish support that he has. He's keeping, Commissioner Tisch,
yeah.
because he understands the importance of safety for the Jewish community, for all communities. He's always saying, I want to be a mayor that you can talk to, and if you have to yell at too. So,
Yeah. Well, he's quoted Koch many times. Do you remember Koch?
yes, yes.
He's kind of like a junior Koch, only smarter, younger, brasher. You've been involved in this entire campaign and seeing the fruits of your labor and finally seeing him win. What keeps you worried? Because as he steps into his role as mayor of the largest city in the world.
Yeah. And what keeps me worried, and I will tell you, Daisy, I wake up some nights sweating. I am
Mm,
so worried for his safety. I was so relieved when they announced that he was going to be moving to Gracie Mansion. Other things that worry me is that there are people who are hard bent,
mhm,
and not accepting him as the mayor of the city of New York.
mhm.
And will do everything in their power to try to undermine him. But at the same time, the will of the people of New York spoke loud and proud,
Yeah.
by voting for him. And you know, it's a new day.
A Muslim being the mayor of the largest city in America, possibly largest city in the world. Do you see this as a moment, or is this a movement for a shift in politics? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's both. It's a moment in time that we never ever imagined in our wildest dreams, right? And I'll tell you why. 25 years ago, we experienced the tragedy of 9/11, which devastated our city, our country, which, had a serious impact on Muslims, Arabs, and South Asians because of their backgrounds, where we experienced backlash and discrimination. And then fast forward to 2025, a man who identifies as Muslim and is South Asian was fully embraced and elected by New Yorkers, not Muslims, by New Yorkers who basically have said at the ballot box, because he is speaking our language, he is speaking about human rights, he is speaking about affordability, he has fresh new ideas. We're tired of the status quo, we're tired of the political operatives. We want something fresh and new,
Mm,
and they elected him. And I always say this to the Muslim community. I remind them, remember, we didn't do this by ourselves.
yeah.
We can't even take, a quarter of the credit because our numbers are still not that big, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm.
It's really the larger community. So now pivoting to movement, it is absolutely a movement, Daisy, because Zohran was able to speak to the needs and concerns of so many young people who felt disenchanted by the political agendas that we have seen, who felt, unheard, unrecognized, who felt like, wow, there's somebody now who is our age that is speaking our language, that has excited us. What election do you ever recall, Daisy, to have had over 104,000 volunteers or
Volunteers.
knocking?
Yeah.
I don't know historically, but we can certainly do the research. But for a city race, 104,000 volunteers door knocking, that's
Hmm.
unheard of.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that is a movement.
that I think you're right. I think it's not just a political victory. I think it's the beginning of the story that New York is writing, one written not by division, but really by coalition building
Yes.
and volunteerism. And to me, it proves that our shared hopes are definitely stronger than these old fears that seek to divide people.
Mhm.
So, Debbie, I
Mhm.
really want to thank you very much for the powerful insights you've given us because we've not heard this insider view of Zohran Mamdani before. And I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reflect on this because I really haven't had a chance to do so. So, just getting a chance to have a candid conversation, I think is so important. And at the end of the day, we all want the same things, right?
Yeah.
We want equity, we want inclusion, and we want, to live with dignity. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me and keep up the great work.
Friends, my next guest is Rabbi Ellen Lipman, a rabbi of a vibrant, progressive Jewish community in Brooklyn. She was appointed to the Social Services Transition Team for Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani. So, Rabbi Lipman, welcome to Wise Women.
Thank you so much, Daisy. I'm so glad to see you and to be here with you today,
Yeah.
especially as we have this exciting moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um,
in this exciting moment, I wanted to just get a little context. Did you know him before the campaign, or did you just get to know him when he popped on the mayoral scene?
when he did, as it seemed, appear from nowhere as this victorious mayoral candidate in the primary, he was not entirely an unknown. There was something about that creativity, that language of that early campaign, his energy in putting it forward that we can see in much greater depth now.
What exactly did you hear that motivated you to get involved, especially, when the campaign was in its full swing?
I certainly recognize and feel the need for greater affordability in New York City. Numbers of members of my community have had to move to other cities or to other areas around New York to find affordable housing. That's a drain for us of often young people with their energy and the gifts they bring. And then I was so taken by his great talent at putting those things forward. One
Mm.
of the things he's been so good about is seeming to be himself. It seems genuine. I think he's deeply concerned. I think he begins to get a sense of what he'll be able to do. And I thought even early on that even though he's young and somewhat inexperienced, that a guy with this kind of smarts will appoint good, smart, experienced people to help him in moving his mayoralty forward. And he's already done a lot of that. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can see from the fact that 60 or 60,000 people have applied,
yeah.
and that means he's going to be able to pick the best and the brightest for his administration, right?
Yes, for sure. And you could see in his all women transition team, which was
Yeah, I
really
know. I love
exciting,
that.
groundbreaking,
Yeah.
and in the people that he began to then take on as kind of key advisors. It gives me even more confidence
Yeah.
for what he'll do as mayor.
Yeah. So, was there any specific role you played during the campaign, like some activities you created?
One of the sort of efforts that Jafford has helped to create is called Jews for Zohran. I was able to do some interviewing that could put forth a message of Jewish support for this mayor, that I hoped would counter some of the not just critical and not just questioning, but frankly, really distasteful and sometimes hateful messages that were coming from some other parts of my own community. So I was able to go to some rallies, and to support with donations, to support with interviews, to support with phone calls, etc., and to see the growing impact of Jews for Zohran. The thousands of doors and that they knocked on and the thousands of phone calls they made were truly impressive. Among his own 100,000 volunteers, he inspires excitement.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that you must have had some kind of a reaction to see the rising number of Jews who actually supported him.
Yes, it was wonderful. And it's sometimes downplayed. In the end, there were, I think, somewhere between 35 and 40% of Jews in the city who supported him. That's a pretty huge percent. And I think my hope is that we won't discount them,
Yeah.
for our community to be one of many communities that will benefit from his being mayor is an idea that we, I think, want to remind ourselves of all the time, and those numbers just help. The Jewish community remains strong in New York City, and so many strongly supportive of him.
So you mentioned earlier that you had gone and done a lot of media when you were supporting him. I'd like you to explain to those people that may not support him what kind of pushback you received and how did you handle that?
I and I'm the retired rabbi of a fairly left-leaning Jewish congregation. Many people at Kolot Chaim are supporters of Zohran's. So I was not the kind of rabbi that got a lot of pushback as some did. Our community is familiar with and supportive of people speaking in a critical way about Israel and Palestine.
Right.
Our community is used to words like democratic socialist.
Yeah.
It's funny that Jews are upset. I mean, in the early 20th century, there were so many Jewish socialists helping to build this city. I've been saddened actually to see from lots of rabbis around the country. I mean, Jews in general, but lots of rabbis around the country who, are nowhere near New York City, have no opportunity to vote in New York City, and yet wanted to weigh in on the dangers that they felt this particular mayor might bring.
Yeah.
I found it very distressing that there were 1,000 rabbis around the country who signed on to a letter critical of him and urging people not to vote for him, that there were a couple of rabbis in large and important major synagogues in this city who urged their congregants not to vote for him, either expressing fear or expressing anger or urging people to see him in a way that I felt was extreme. Unfortunately, a split in the Jewish community, or several splits in the Jewish community in the last several years that then showed up again in new ways with regard to this mayoral candidate. What can I say? I have said to many people, and others, thankfully, are also pushing back on some of those angry or fearful comments. I think that Zohran Mamdani has spent more time meeting Jews, meeting Jewish leaders, not just the Satmar Hasidim, to several synagogues where people would have him come. He came twice to Kolot Chaim during the past year, not as a campaign stop in an official way, not saying anything, not speaking, merely coming and sitting and learning what was our prayer service like? What did the people seem like? Getting a sense of the place. And he did that in other synagogues as well. And he has made visits to groups of rabbis who have not been his supporters to talk to them about his plans, his very firm determination to counter anti-Semitism, his recognition that all the kinds of hate that can be possibly expressed against New Yorkers should not be expressed, right? We don't want
Yeah.
anti-Semitism. We don't want Islamophobia. We don't want racism. We
Yeah.
don't want all of the ways that people hate each other in speech and action
Hmm.
to gain ground in New York City. He's been
Yeah.
very clear about all of that. And I think as a Muslim who endured many anti-Muslim attacks during this campaign, he has a personal and visceral understanding of what that can feel like.
Yeah, he's made a commitment to tackling both Islamophobia and anti-Semitism with the
Right.
same vigor.
I think the point about what you're saying is that when he says that, I believe him. Others
Yeah.
are skeptical and
Mm.
or think he's not telling the truth. I find him genuine and I believe him. I think he's also a New Yorker in a way that so many people are not. He grew up in parts of New York City where many different kinds of people interact every day, um, as customers and storekeepers, as teachers and students, as subway riders, as library users, as
Mhm.
taxi, again, customers or drivers, all of the people of New York City who were very used to being with one another, right? So I believe him. That's what I say to people who question me. Um, One of my colleagues wrote to me uh, about the Jews for Zohran. Why do you emphasize the fact that you're Jews for Zohran? And I said, I think because there have been so many Jews who have expressed hate for him. We want to
Mm.
make sure that we are saying loud and clear, we are Jews who are for Zohran.
I know many members of the Jewish community, the various strands, who are truly petrified of him.
Yes,
Petrified,
yes,
like they're ready to flee. They think
yes.
they're
Although
going to be
nobody seems
thrown
to
into
be doing
ghettos.
it.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that visceral, generational trauma. Whatever it is, it feels real to them. I
Yes.
want you have an opportunity right now to alleviate their fears. What would you say to them?
I mean, I just said partly what I want to say, which is that um, I believe him when he says he's going to address anti-Semitism when it rises up,
Mhm.
or support policies that will preclude it, that will keep it from taking stronger root, and he will do so in a way that resonates with me, which is to say, it's not just Jews.
Mhm.
That anti-Semitism must be addressed with Islamophobia. I fear for the Jews who want to see only Jewish pain. I don't think it's good for us, friends. We are intertwined with all of our neighbors.
Yeah.
We cannot be safe if Muslim New Yorkers are not safe. We cannot be safe if Black New Yorkers are not safe. We cannot be safe if Asian New Yorkers are not safe. And we must understand that. And I think that is the way that Zohran Mamdani understands the question of anti-Semitism. It is deeply gratifying to me.
You know, Rabbi, first of all, we're two minority faith groups that are roughly the same size in the United States. Both of our communities are very vibrant,
Yes,
very enterprising,
yes,
very involved in social activism, involved in all spheres of our society. We're not taking from America, we're actually giving back a
oh,
lot.
so much so.
Imagine if our two communities work side by side, like
Right,
in tandem with one
right,
another. We would
exactly.
be
And we have a
two
chance.
model communities. Let him bring our communities together, which he's already
I,
made a commitment to that.
I completely agree. Uh,
Yeah.
I, I, uh, I believe that you've recently been speaking to my longtime friend, Dr. Debbie Almontaser, with
Yes.
whom I began an effort in Brooklyn many years ago, a post 9/11 effort called
Yeah.
Children of Abraham Peace Walk.
Yeah.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, and other people of faith walking together in peace in Brooklyn. We walked for 15 years every September 11th. Every year when we walked, one of the things we did was to stop in different houses of worship to learn about that place. What
Yeah.
it looked like inside this Maronite Lebanese church. What's a synagogue look like, etc. We went to an Albanian mosque. I had no idea that such a thing existed. We learned so much about our communities in walking together to insist on peaceful coexistence between us. And there's always been hatred, but let us get past it together. And I think let us have faith in this mayor who intends to stand strongly for where he comes from, his culture, his religion, his faith, his origins, in such a way we all have to do that, right? I want to remember the Jewish roots of New York City. I want to remember my ancestors coming here to try and make a living from harder places that they came from earlier. As has been said, we may have come here on different boats, but we are in some ways all in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah. The journey is the same.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to the bromance in the White House?
The mayor-elect was really smart to go to the White House and meet the president. There remains some fear of what the president might do in New York City. So I was impressed that he chose to go right at that possibly troublesome relationship and see if he could arrive at something better.
Yeah, and that shows you the way his decision making process, the fact that Trump didn't even congratulate him, and then he turned around and said, "I'm going to request a meeting and come to your turf." That was a very smart move.
Right.
So now I know that you have some kind of an appointment with the social services. Can you just describe what role you're going to be playing?
Sure. On, I believe, the 22nd of November of this year, of 2025, the transition team announced that there were 400 people that they were appointing. We're going to help give advice to the incoming team. These are not paid positions. All of us were asked to bring policy recommendations. I was very honored to be nominated at all, to be appointed at all, and an honor to sit in that room and hear from to hear the wisdom.
This is all merit based.
Yeah,
Which is so great. Meritocracy is finally back in vogue. So 2026 is going to be a big year. I brought you in because of the concern within the Jewish community. Do you think Mamdani is good for the Jews?
Yes, I think he's good for the Jews because I think democracy is good for the Jews. He's already starting with promoting democratic ways of business. I think multicultural, multiracial democracy is exactly what the Jewish community needs. What could be better for Jews than to have this city, which has been so welcoming and embracing of us for so long, be a place that can welcome the first Muslim mayor of New York City? It's an astonishing achievement, and it's one that we need to celebrate, to go with, to cut him some slack, to give him some joy and some love as he becomes the mayor of this, I think, most important city in the world.
I congratulate you for this appointment, and if you'd like to say some parting words.
I have been thinking about the Jewish prayer that we say as part of kind of daily blessings in the morning, asking God to make firm our steps. May his steps be firm. May they be firm because we're supporting him. And may they be firm because he maintains his integrity and his focus and his wisdom and his skill.
Amen, as they say. Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Lippman, for joining me.
Thank you so much, Daisy. What a joy to see you.
So, why are you here for Mamdani?
It's a monumental event. We're about to change history. We've been changing history, and today's the day that he gets put into office. I came to New York for a better New York, and this is happening now.
Thank you so much.
Of course, I want to see the community.
You excited about Mamdani?
Well, I'm excited about Mamdani. He's talking that good talk. Like, it sounds good. So I'm gonna have good faith and hope that everything he's talking, he's gonna back it up. I ain't even gonna lie.
Thank you for joining me on Wise Women. If something stirred in you today, don't let it stop here. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Reflect on what resonated for you. And definitely plant one seed of change, however small. Remember, you do matter. And your actions have a ripple effect. But none of us can rise alone. To explore more resources and ways to get involved, do visit my website, daisycon.com. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, because every click is your way of amplifying this message to others. Wisdom isn't just heard, my friends, it's lived. So let's live it. Until next time, stay wise and stay rooted.